Yo, welcome back to our Raw reactions here at Trippy Commentaries. Do we have a new version of the Shield forming? Roman Reigns plus RVD and Sheamus? That would be pretty cool, but I highly doubt we'll see these guys team up again. But it was a pretty cool matchup as Rybaxel teamed up with Orton, Randy Orton of course, to form a nice little group of heels there. Ryback was actually getting a lot of love from the Las Vegas crowd, which I guess is his hometown, so good for him. I'm RJ, joined by C-Dub. Corey, what do you think about this teaming up between RVD, Sheamus, and Reigns as they defeated Randy Orton and Rybaxel?
Oh man, that was a huge teaming there. I really liked seeing Reigns and Sheamus and RVD together. Of course, Roman Reigns made his way out to the ring for this big six-man tag through the crowd as usual. Got a great response from the Vegas crowd, hot off the heels of his big victory against Randy Orton. We saw Sheamus started off. It was good to see him get featured here after he was left off the SummerSlam card without a title defense. That was a pretty cool exchange there where Sheamus hit a rolling senton on the Curtis Axel. RVD tagged in before Sheamus made the impact, and then RVD came in and hit the rolling thunder to follow that up. It was a pretty cool little combo. And as you mentioned, we heard it was like an episode of The Twilight Zone. We heard a "We Want Ryback" chant, and then we heard a "Ryback Rules" chant. We were hearing "Feed Me More" chants. I mean, what in the blue hell was going on? It was pretty strange. JBL explained it as the Las Vegas native zoo animals being enthusiastic for the hometown big guy, Ryback.
There he is.
Orton got a huge response whenever he signaled that he's going to tag Ryback in. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of response he gets next week whenever they're not in his hometown. We saw Sheamus hit the white noise on Orton out of nowhere, makes the hot tag to a fired-up Roman Reigns, who cleaned house, tagged in RVD, who hits a split-leg moonsault. Sheamus comes in with the brogue kick. Roman Reigns hits the spear. Rob Van Dam, the legal man in the match, hits the 5-star frog splash on Curtis Axel for the pinfall victory. Reigns, Sheamus, and RVD were standing tall. Orton and Rybaxel looking on in disbelief from ringside. And then after the match, RJ, we saw a little exchange backstage with Ric Flair and the Viper Randy Orton. He kind of blew off the Nature Boy and said, "I don't need your free advice. You need to stay out of my way, or else you're going to find out why I'm also called the Legend Killer."
Yes, I like that actually. That was pretty cool. I like how Ric Flair was seen all around tonight. I definitely hope they keep him around to do some of these antics a little bit more. I know there was some rumors that he might be managing The Miz or someone else. I think Dolph Ziggler or Randy Orton would be a great fit as well, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. But getting back to that match, I gotta say, it was pretty cool to see these guys teamed up. All three are, some of my favorite wrestlers. I'm a huge fan of Sheamus. I think he's going unused. They should just give him a feud with Cesaro here. I mean, that's two guys that are going unused. Fuse, put them together. They have a championship belt to feud over here. And RVD, also another guy, kind of unused. He's kind of turned into a jobber. He basically just gets whoever needs to get over. And then Roman Reigns going against Randy Orton once again here. So, pretty interesting match. Not the last we'll see of Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns. Now, Rusev came out, and we saw him have a brand new feuding partner, as in part one we mentioned that Jack Swagger would now be busy with Bo Dallas. But before that, Corey, I believe there was some interesting things that happened. Of course, there was a Paige victory against Natalya. What do you think about Paige and anything else that happened right around now?
Well, basically what we saw in that match was Natalya against the new Divas champion Paige. Mid-match, AJ Lee came out and distracted Paige, much like Paige did to AJ last week on Raw. Natty rolls up Paige for the non-title victory over the Divas champ. Looks like we're going to see some more Paige and AJ battles. But another interesting thing to mention before we get into Rusev is that we heard from both Chris Jericho and Bray Wyatt tonight. We heard a promo from Chris Jericho saying that whenever he looked into Bray Wyatt's eyes as he spider walked across the ring, all he saw was empty. It was empty. Bray Wyatt has nothing inside him. He even said last night that he is dead. Then we heard Bray Wyatt respond by referring to the famous "Behold the pale horse, and the rider upon him was death" phrase. The Eater of Worlds says, "Jericho, you're correct. I have no soul. I am the rider of that pale horse. I am death. I am evil itself. The world is my plaything. Souls are just toys in my hands." Man, this was some awesome work here from Bray Wyatt, who, in my estimation, is one of the most compelling characters WWE has made in many years. I don't think we've seen the end of Bray Wyatt and Chris Jericho. RJ, perhaps we're going to see the third match in the feud at Night of Champions in my home state, Music City, USA, Nashville, Tennessee. What do you think?
I think so as well. Definitely going to see it, Corey. These guys aren't giving up on each other, and now they have each won one against one another. So we'll see who comes out on top in the rubber match, as the winner of the third match is probably going to be kind of the official winner of that feud, and I'm sure Bray Wyatt will be moving on. I totally expect Bray Wyatt to come out as the winner in that matchup, because I think this guy, you know, the sky's the limit. I would love to see Bray Wyatt climb up the ladder to face off with Brock Lesnar. That would be a very intriguing combination. The only problem is they're both heels. They're both pretty big bad guys here, and I don't see them coming out of bad guy status anytime soon. So we'll see what happens. As I'm just trying to think of guys to go against this man right here, Brock Lesnar. He's a beast. Perhaps he wouldn't be able to suplex Bray Wyatt as easily. But I did think that was a pretty cool segment there, Corey. I can't wait to see what comes next from both these guys. As I'm a huge Jericho fan, I wouldn't mind Chris Jericho climbing up the ladder himself. He's capable of it. But getting to the Rusev event here, basically Rusev came out with Lana, doing the normal spiel, brought up our favorite Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, and this time it was someone else that came out. It was someone who was nearly the same size as Rusev, in fact, bigger than Rusev, same body style. It's the world's strongest man. Mark Henry came out, and he took exception to Rusev, and I think this time Rusev is not going to come off as the the dominator as he has been so far, because when Mark Henry stands next to Rusev, Rusev looks like the small fry. Corey, Mark Henry's back. What do you think about the Rusev versus Mark Henry feud that has just begun?
Oh man, the opponents for Rusev just keep getting bigger and badder. Of course, like you said, we heard Lana do her usual Vladimir Putin spiel. We want to say hello to our favorite Trippy Comms viewer, Comrade Putin. Thank you for watching. Lana went on to say how proud everyone in the Kremlin is of Rusev, and we get interrupted by the sounds you heard at the beginning of Raw tonight, 3-6 Mafia, which means only one thing: the world's strongest man is making his way to the ring. He came out again. Mark Henry definitely has had enough of Rusev and Lana's continuous bad-mouthing of our country. Mark Henry, of course, being a two-time Olympian, is certainly proud to be an American and has a very big problem with the jackassery of Rusev and Lana. Huge USA chants. It seems like all the heat for Swagger has just went right on to Mark Henry, as he is now the I guess, representative of our United States of America here against Rusev. And he says that he's going to give Rusev a personal guided tour of the Hall of Pain. Rusev sucker punched Mark Henry, attempted a kick, but he was clearly in pain after hurting that ankle in Swagger's Patriot Lock last night at SummerSlam. Mark Henry turns the tables and hits the world's strongest slam on Rusev. Crowd goes nuts. We then hit a huge splash out of nowhere for good measure. Man, it's pretty clear that Mark Henry and Rusev are going to be facing off soon, RJ.
Yes, Retro Brett asked for it, and he will get it, as Retro Brett has told Rusev to pick on someone his own size, and he's going to get someone that's even bigger than him. I noticed a pretty big change of persona here from Lana as well. She didn't seem to be as confident about Rusev crushing Mark Henry as she has the other guys that have come down the river for, of course, for Rusev to snatch up. Corey, who do you have as the early favorite in this matchup here?
Man, I don't know. I really have a hard time believing that they're going to feed a guy like Mark Henry to Rusev. But certainly if they did, man, that's another notch in this sword of Rusev that is, I mean, that's huge, man. A victory over the world's strongest man. Perhaps maybe he'll go on to take on the Big Show. I mean, who knows, man? But certainly at this point, Rusev has been unstoppable. We saw Swagger really make Rusev look vulnerable for the first time at SummerSlam. We'll have to see what happens in time and if Mark Henry can capitalize on that and get the victory for the first time over the undefeated Rusev.
Now the next matchup that we're going to talk about is a big one. Seth Rollins versus Dean Ambrose. And, you know, of course, it was a huge matchup at SummerSlam. Very memorable. We saw some stuff that I'd never even seen before in a wrestling match. And that happened once again as we saw some really crazy stuff go down. Before we start up talking about that match, I do kind of want to bring up that the WWE 2K15, the new game coming out, the rosters were revealed. We will be covering that for you guys from day one on the next gen console, so just make sure to stay tuned for that. We'll be doing our preview of the game very soon, so those of you who are big fans of the game, definitely make sure to stay tuned to us here at Trippy Commentaries. We'll cover the game in depth for you, pretty much the best coverage around. We'll give you our preview pretty soon, let you know all the fighters that will be in it. There will be some DLCs announced and a bunch of other stuff, so definitely make sure to watch our coverage of that, and we'll be covering that for you guys as soon as it is released. Drop your comment if there's anything that you're interested in when it comes to WWE 2K15, anything you guys are wondering about, or of course anything you guys want to see. But enough of that, Corey. Let's go ahead and get into the main event. Dean Ambrose, you can see on the screen right now, he takes a lot of punishment, and probably he took more punishment tonight than we've ever seen, as something really crazy happened to him. Before we kind of get into the match, we have to announce that there was a voting process here to decide one of 3 different matches that this would be. And even before that, we saw a really cool segment where Renee Young was interviewing Seth Rollins, and just out of nowhere, ice and water gushed down, of course, going all over on Seth Rollins, the Ice Bucket Challenge that's kind of went viral and got pretty popular over the weekend. Dean Ambrose himself was the one who dumped the ice and the water on Seth Rollins. Kind of a funny segment here, Corey. What'd you think about that? And of course, what were the results in the voting? What match did we see tonight?
Well, you know, as you said, Dean Ambrose dumped a bucket of ice water over Seth Rollins' head and then said, "What? It's for charity." And then before the brawl between the two could happen, it was broke up by the road agents. Shortly thereafter, Triple H announced that the WWE Universe would decide what sort of match those two would face off in here tonight. We were told our options were a last man standing match, Falls Count Anywhere match, or a no disqualification match. RJ, I voted Falls Count Anywhere. Did you have a chance to vote? And if not, what was your the choice you were hoping for?
Well, I definitely voted B, as it seemed to me like A and C were kind of the same option here. But I love how this Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose feud keeps going out into the crowd. You know, that's my favorite kind of feud. And that's definitely what's going on here. Of course, we got the Falls Count Out Anywhere or whatever, so that made it pretty exciting. And I can imagine you were probably pretty happy with that, you know, of course, with the results of that poll as well.
Yeah, most definitely, man. I felt like tonight, this is the match that we've been waiting for. I was fairly certain this would get saved for Night of Champions, but it wasn't. My wish came true. We did get to see the Falls Count Anywhere match. Ambrose and Rollins wasted no time going at it, back and forth, brawling up the entrance ramp, all over the arena. Dean Ambrose goes under the ring to find a couple chairs, which he put to good use on Seth Rollins, scooped him up and the chair and slammed him down on it. Followed that up with a Mick Foley-esque elbow drop with the chair for a 2 count. Ambrose wedged that chair in the corner then after that between the 2 turnbuckles, goes to throw Seth Rollins into it head first, who reverses it and turns the tables on Ambrose from this point on pretty much. Sent him into the chair, really got the momentum into his favor. Rollins then made use of a Singapore cane on Ambrose, really battering him. He kept coming back for more, seemingly with a smile on his face. It's really crazy to see Dean Ambrose. The guy's a complete nut. Dean Ambrose kind of got the upper hand and hit a tornado DDT out of the corner for another 2 count. The crowd was super hot about midway through it for what was an awesome match. They really got behind Ambrose, who attempted the dirty deeds, which got countered. And then Rollins went for the curb stomp, which was countered by Ambrose. Both men clotheslined each other, and both are down. Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins both get up. Ambrose goes to the outside and throws about 8 chairs in the ring, and attempted a vertical suplex off the corner, off the turnbuckle, onto the stack of chairs. Rollins counters it and power bombs Dean Ambrose onto the pile of chairs for a 2 count. More "This is awesome" chants from the biggest crowd. At this point, RJ, we saw the director of operations, Kane, appear at ringside as Seth Rollins pulled a table from under the ring. Kane and the crowd are both seemingly pretty hyped up for the appearance of a table. Rollins set it up, but Ambrose gets the upper hand and suplexes Rollins off the top rope through the table. At this point, Kane comes in and interferes by pulling Rollins out of the ring as Ambrose goes for the pin. Ambrose is having none of it. He dives through the ropes onto Kane and Rollins. Dean then brings Seth back into the ring for the dirty deeds, and seemingly he's going to get the victory until Kane pulls Ambrose out of the ring and continues his work from SummerSlam, assaulting Ambrose at ringside until he's sent with a drop toe hold into the ring steps. Dean Ambrose then throws him over the announce table and kind of takes him out, runs across the announce tables to fly into the crowd onto Seth Rollins. Man, this was crazy. We heard more "This is awesome" chants as Dean Ambrose cleared the announce table off to seemingly put Seth Rollins through it with the dirty deeds and get the win. But before he could, Kane recovered, choke slammed Ambrose onto the announce table, and what we saw after that was truly shocking. Seth Rollins hits the curb stomp onto the table as Kane moves another table at ringside to reveal a pile of cinder blocks. He then held the already unconscious Dean Ambrose's head as Seth Rollins came down off the announce table to curb stomp Dean Ambrose a second time onto and through the cinder blocks. The referee stopped the match. Raw goes off the air tonight, RJ, with Dean Ambrose receiving medical attention and Rollins being showered with an array of "You sold out" chants. Man, I really feel like this was the match we've all been waiting for, and I gotta think this isn't the last one we're gonna see.
Not at all. So Dean Ambrose took 2 truly devastating moves. In fact, 2 of the more devastating moves that we've seen this year. First, like you said, C-Dub, he was powerbombed into a pile of chairs. That's crazy. You know, don't see that too often. That kind of reminds me of something that used to happen back in the Attitude Era. I constantly complain about how there's no hardcore matches, stuff like that. And this was about as hardcore of a match as you can get. Also, he was eventually curb stomped into cement blocks. Holy crap, he didn't even move after that happened. Eventually, Seth Rollins' music went on, and, you know, of course it hit. Kane lifted Seth Rollins' hand into the air as if he won. I know he was technically the winner, but the match was called because Seth Rollins, much like Jack Swagger back at SummerSlam, was passed out. The ref had to call the match. I think he was telling Seth Rollins and Kane that they've gone too far. We'll see what happens here from Dean Ambrose. I think that he can take the punishment, but this is the worst blow yet. He's taken some pretty bad curb stomp. I believe one that had him gone for the rest of the night was on some wooden planks. This one on cement blocks. Wow, that's crazy. Hopefully Dean Ambrose makes a return, as he's one of my favorite wrestlers going. Him and Roman Reigns from the Shield, as well as Seth Rollins. Man, these guys are still going strong. Let us never forget the Shield. They were epic, and their legend will grow as all three of these wrestlers just continue to get better. What a great episode of Raw. Man, I wish I was in Vegas with you, C-Dub, to go party it up after we saw some great victories. Dolph Ziggler is still the champ, and Brock Lesnar made it known that he ain't going nowhere, as he was presented a brand new title belt. Make sure to stay tuned to all of our Raw reactions here at Trippy Commentaries. We got you every Tuesday. We'll recap the entire night, give you all the results, and let you know what we think of what went down that night and what will go down in the future. Stay tuned here at Trippy Commentaries. And more importantly, guys, stay trippy. Thank you for dropping your knowledge, C-Dub. We'll see you in the next episode of WWE Raw Reactions. We're out.